Hello and welcome to Amit's Tech Sessions. My name is Amit and I'm a software architect. In this session, I will talk about some of the security best practices of Amazon Elastic Container Service or ECS. So let's do a quick recap on how ECS architecture looks like. So in the beginning, you have a container which packages up the application you need to run. This container runs as part of tasks in ECS cluster. These tasks run either standalone or as part of the service in ECS, and these services are the logical constructs in ECS cluster. So in this session, I would discuss security best practices of all of these components. So let's move to the security of the containers. As we all know, right, container is a package which contains your application code, dependencies required by your application, any configuration required by your application, and the runtime required by your application. Hence, it becomes important that we have secured everything inside that container. So let's understand the security aspects of the container. As we just said, container is packaged up using the application code. Hence, it is important that that application code is secure enough. But how do you ensure that? So you can ensure that by performing a static code analysis of the application code. And there are various tools and technologies available to help with static code analysis. You also need to perform security scanning of your open source dependencies, which are part of your application. Open source dependency scanning ensures that your application does not bring any vulnerabilities from those third-party libraries. Again, there are various tools and technologies available to help with this. Aside this, you also need to perform scanning of container images. Container image scanning would find out whether there are any vulnerabilities in the container image, such as vulnerabilities can happen in the base image, which is used in your Docker file. Another best practice is to not run the container as privileged. A privileged container is a container that has all the capabilities of the host machine. Practically, this means that privileged containers can do almost every action that can be performed directly on the host. So do not run privileged containers. One other best practice is to run container with a non-root user. Root users have full root permissions on the containers, which can allow the user to perform over-permissive actions. So now let's discuss the security of ECS task. As we know, ECS task does contain a container or multiple containers. Best practice is to run one business container along with any sidecar containers which are required by the business container. When you create ECS task, you define and attach the security group to that ECS task. You need to ensure that security group attached to the ECS task is hardened with the least permissive inbound and outbound rules. In ECS task, you have two types of roles, task role and task execution role. A task role is the role which is used by the application running inside your task. For example, let's say you have a Java application which is running within the ECS task. Your Java application needs to read the secrets from AWS Secrets Manager in order to connect to the database. Now, task role is that IAM role which will contain the permission to retrieve that secret from the Secrets Manager. On the other hand, task execution role is the role which is used by ECS to execute the task. For example, task execution role needs to have the permissions to pull the container image from the registry. Both these task role and task execution role should have least permissions assigned for the purpose they need. Another best practice is that all the secrets which are required by the application running within the task should be stored in a third-party secret manager service. These secrets should not be referenced as environment variables in ECS task. All the AWS ECS API calls must be logged in the CloudTrail so that they can be monitored for any security misconfigurations or incidents. One other most important security best practice is to use AWS VPC mode for task networking. If you use AWS VPC mode, ECS creates and manages an elastic network interface or ENI for each task and each task receives its own private IP address within the VPC. And this ENI is separate from the underlying host's ENI. Now let's discuss some of the other considerations around ECS security. The first one is, if you're using ECS Fargate, then make sure that you are encrypting the ephemeral storage using key management service from AWS. Second one is that use only ECS exec wherever it is really needed by your business. Do not misuse the ECS exec in your company or in your project or in your team. ECS exec allows you the capability to go into your running task or container and perform some shell commands or other type of operations. So just use that only if it is required by your business. Another consideration is that you implement the runtime security of workloads which are running on ECS using third-party solutions. One of the third-party solution which I know is Aqua. Aqua is a company who provides the runtime security capabilities for containers and for ECS specifically. There are many other companies who also provide runtime security solutions for containers and ECS. So choose whatever makes sense for you. And one last security consideration which I have highlighted is that you monitor and log all the activity on your ECS cluster, whatever is coming in, whatever is going out from your ECS cluster and ECS tasks, etc. That's all I have for this video. I hope this was useful. If you would like to connect with me on LinkedIn or Medium, there are QR codes up on the screen. Thank you very much.